Okay. I'm recording already.
Okay.
So anytime you want.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lightshare. In today's episode, me, Adrian, and Dom will be talking about, a couple of topics. But the first one came up with this idea that Adrian shared something on Instagram with us, and if Adrian maybe
Yeah, you
you
want
could
me
read
to
it
say
for
it?
us.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's not like a single sentence, it's more like almost an entire paragraph, but it's like in essence, it's like when your friends either go through this inner transformation with you or they drift out of your life, right? Like some relationships dissolve and others deepen. So it's like two ways, right? And I'm not sure how to put this simply, but I think it already speaks by itself. Maybe we can simply merge it with some other topic because it's like part of something else, right? It's almost like we were going to talk about burnout
Yeah.
in this episode, and yeah, let's see how that goes. So I don't know what you guys think about burnout, but it's quite an awful experience, I guess.
Yeah. I've experienced it a lot back in the
y-
past.
Yeah, can you just talk about it a little bit?
Let's see. Burnout is not a good feeling. It can come on very quickly if you're not careful with it. Usually it spawns from overworking yourself and taking on too many projects at once. I'm sure a lot of artists have felt that way more times than others, and the feeling can be overwhelming, and you can range from feeling depressed to like super unmotivated to just, you know, you have a bleak view on your worldview on your career. You just don't want to engage in your work anymore for however long periods of time you don't want to engage in. And so, yeah,
I thought it
kind
was
of
this
might
feeling
drop off
of
the map
I
for
thought it
a
was
bit or
this feeling
something.
of like not wanting to do the thing you love doing the most, which is in this case, for instance, like if I like art, if I like painting, burnout would prevent me from doing that because I would not feel like painting, for instance. Is that right? Or is it, I don't know.
I'd say it's mostly,
Or it affects
I
like
mean,
everything. You just don't want to do anything.
it could be that, but it could also be the thing that you really like to do. But I feel it has mostly to do with the thing that you're passionate about. Sometimes you want to do the thing that you love doing, but at times it just gets too much to the point where you can't take on anymore, or you just lose inspiration also, and you just don't have the desire to put the pencil or pen down to the paper, and nothing comes out. You just don't feel any inspiration coming through your head.
That's kind of more like a block, right? So I'm not sure
I'd say,
what causes a burnout in this case. Like,
Yeah, I'm wondering that as well.
is it overdoing something? Like, for instance,
yeah,
yeah, you like this thing, and if you overdo it, like you do that to the point of, how should I say this? Like desensibilizing yourself to it, or something like that. Like you're not stimulated by it anymore. Is that kind of like a burnout?
yeah,
Can it be
I would
applied
say.
to art and everything else?
I would say it would apply to most things, yeah. Not just art, but anything in life that you have to work for. So,
Because I'm
Yep.
thinking it must be coming from like some sort of negative experience with something that's pretty close to what you like doing the most, and then you kind of start associating these bad connotations to it, and that's why it probably becomes a negative experience. I don't know. I'm just saying. You were
yeah.
going to say something, Andre?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's caused by overdoing something or if it's maybe a point in your life, because, well, our lives are not just art, you know. So maybe it's a moment where a lot of things like went bad at the same time, so you kind of feel like you don't want to do anything, and that's similar to what depression would be, I'm
Mhm.
guessing. So it's that feeling of hopelessness, I guess.
I would say so too. Yeah.
Yeah, Dom, you mentioned you've felt this like many times.
Yeah, I think back when I was starting out, I'd say around, well, this was a little bit further into my art journey, I would say, but I guess like trying to experiment a lot and, you know, just, I, I think that had to do with doing freelance too at the same time. So I was like trying to figure out my skills and do freelance. So I was trying to catch up with my skills, but I was taking on what the client was offering me and I couldn't execute the job well, so that was overwhelming me to the point where, I didn't have any motivation to do it, and trying to like figure my own style out, my own work stuff was like also another complication, I feel, and I just like didn't want to do art for a while, like for months
I
actually.
see. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was kind of overwhelming, right?
Mhm.
And
I feel, yeah.
yeah, no.
I feel like, all right, go ahead.
What is it? No, I just failed to understand like what's the difference between like an overwhelming experience and burnout. Like from what I see, from like at this point, it's like burnout is more like you just don't want to do that thing anymore, right? Because you're like sick of it. You don't want to see it anymore, and you fail to have like any motivations further. And something overwhelming, does that mean that is like you're trying to avoid something challenging? Or because we have to kind of understand here what's the magnitude of the problem itself, right? Like how big is this challenge to overwhelm you, right?
I feel it correlates mostly with stress,
Mm-hmm.
just
It's a
you're
bunch of
too
things coming
stressed out
together, I
to,
guess.
yeah, everything compounds, all these negative emotions sort of just pile on top of each other, and you just can't take it anymore. And so you just quit, like, for a while. Like, I've had
Mm-hmm.
this happen to several of my friends. I mean, I know I've experienced it, but when I've seen my friends go through it, it's just, like, not good.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty scary to
yeah.
see them kind of down all the time, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, you're
Um,
just like, I, well, I don't want to mention names, but my friend who did the mentorship with uh, JP, yeah, he went through that similar thing where he was just like overworking himself in the mentorship, and he wasn't doing the thing that he really wanted to do. And so from that point, he got super burnt out, and he lost all desire to do art for a really long time. Like, he left the art game for quite a while, and I was actually a little concerned about him because
hmm.
he didn't come back for at least a year, I would say, until he started getting back into it again. And
I
yeah,
wonder, why does it happen to some people and it doesn't happen to other people? Like, why are only certain people affected by this?
Yeah, that's something that I wonder as well. I never went through that kind of experience. To be honest, it's way easier for me to find peace and calmness in art instead of like trying to get rid of it because of the stress, you know, or not being able to do it.
No matter
what I
how
think
much
it
art you
is,
do.
or
Yeah, no matter how much.
I feel
Hmm.
like what it is, it could be you have this super high, um, what's it called? Like, you have this high sense of passion in the beginning, right?
Hmm.
Like, you're super excited.
Yeah, the
You
initial
want to do
stage.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this euphoria of like,
Hmm.
like, yes, I'm doing this, I'm getting it down, like I'm the
the
man, I'm the
kind of
boss,
like a
whatever.
dopamine rush you
Yeah.
get before doing the thing itself.
And then you just crash. Like that's where the burnout comes in,
Yeah.
because you feel like you can take on all this stuff and like you're doing like all this work and everything. You're on a roll, and then suddenly you just like hit the wall really suddenly. And
I'm talking here
it's like a
without
crash
without any experience, but could it have to do something with not knowing yourself yet, not knowing like
I
your
would say
limits?
so, yeah.
Like maybe it's sort of like an experience, like experiencing your own reality. Like this is as far as I can go, right? And maybe it can make you feel like disappointed that you couldn't take it longer or further.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, it sucks, I don't want to do this anymore. Just like the friend you mentioned that quit art because he kind of overworked himself. Do you think that's like maybe he didn't quit, maybe he found like I am absolutely unaware of the story and anything about it, but maybe he found something else that he enjoys more. I don't know, I'm just saying, right?
I feel it has to do with doing work that you're probably not super passionate about. That can lead to the burnout, but you still have the skills to do it anyways, even though. So it mostly has to do with work. That's why, we hear a lot of stories about artists in the industry facing this burnout, because, it's not their personal work that they're doing. It's client work.
Yeah,
for the most part.
the
So they're
crunch
taking
type
on-
of culture, right? When they
they're
make
taking
you
on stuff
work
that's not
overtime every single day. You wake up in the morning, you work on something that you also worked yesterday and the day before. And it's also like a lot of hours a day. But I mean, I haven't had that experience at that point. Like I haven't had to be in the crunch mode for like say a year, right? Which is insane. But I did have to do it like for a shorter period of time, and of course you feel like you're fed up with that project and you don't want to see, say if it's about sci-fi or I don't know, fantasy, whatever, I don't want to see orcs anymore, I don't want to see spaceships anymore, right? I'm sick of designing those things. And
yeah, I don't know how that feel, like not seeing spaceships. What the hell?
especially if you live between them, right? Yeah, you breathe spaceships or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, what would you have for breakfast if not spaceships? Like, I don't know.
But I wonder what happens when you kind of have that's your work, and it's also like your personal project, like your side hustle, right? You're building this kind of project based on the same thing that you're crunching on at work. I don't know if that, see, that's why I said in the beginning, like maybe it affects only certain people, and I don't know what's the explanation there. But yeah, that's probably why some people don't feel like affected by this. They don't get burned out by, say, I want to make I'm sorry, Andrea, but it has to be spaceships. Like I want to make a project about spaceships, and it's the same thing I have to do at work as well. And then I get home and I work on my own project about spaceships. They're probably different. They're probably, I don't know, it must be like a different feeling to work on your own stuff, your own project, something that's for yourself, where you get to decide absolutely everything. And perhaps that's why it feels more liberating and it doesn't feel like burning yourself out. But yeah, I don't know.
That's what I felt with other freelance projects. Like, I would do a project that, could be sci-fi or something, heavy sci-fi that I'm not, which I can do. I like science fiction, concept art, but if it's too much of it, sometimes I get sick of it. So I don't feel the desire to keep pushing through it. So I had to leave partway. I had to leave the project because I I was just not feeling the desire to do it anymore, and like it was not fulfilling me in any way compared to my personal project, which was still my book at the time. And so that gave me more energy and more passion or more fuel. So it's like a night and day difference between doing client work that you don't really care about and your personal project that you do care about. So
sorry to insist with this, but would that be a burnout thing? Like, wouldn't it be like you're just not fulfilled by that project or that job you've been given? Because I'm just trying to find like what burnout really means.
And also, also something that I'm thinking, it's since Dom is the one talking from experience, right? I never had that. So, are you supposed to feel fulfilled?
I might have had it and not know it, because I've always failed to identify things by these labels, right? I just remember what it feels like, and that's it. I didn't even know it had a name.
To be honest, like art itself never caused me that. I had stressful moments and moments where like I was feeling the way that you guys are describing things, like not feeling like doing anything or not feeling like even living in the bed or something like that. But on those moments, it was always the same thing, like I would always focus on art. So I don't know how would that feel to be like to do anything but art that would satisfy that need of you. So I'm trying to figure out where it's the point of like what makes you feel like that for art specifically instead of like anything else in life. Because to me it was very much correlated, like what I was feeling myself in the moment with everything in my life, and that would affect not only art. So I don't know what would cause something to affect only one particular part of your life,
like the burnout.
I can talk about that because I think I just found out. So I think what happened in my case was that I don't consider this year to have been like the best year of my life, right? But I definitely had like some ups and downs. So what?
What do you mean 2020? Like the best year ever? So much good things happening around the world. It was not your best year ever?
In my life, yeah. You can have better years.
I'm sorry,
I guess.
dude. I couldn't help myself. It's been a shitty year all over the world. Don't worry.
No. Yeah, but we're not talking here in general, right? I was speaking about myself here.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
It started. Anyway, fucking Andre, dude. I hate this guy. I'm trying to speak about something that happened to me. I know what's going on in the world. I see it. I have internet too. But yeah.
People will think that I'm a jerk, dude.
What I was trying to say is that I figured out it when I drifted away from art for like, I don't know, a few months, right? Which is something that never really happened to me before for that long. I realized it was because it was not that I wasn't really feeling like drawing, like painting, like working on my own. For fuck's sake, I have like my own project coming up, right? Like I'm so passionate and so fulfilled by it. Yet I was like so discouraged by what I saw as a lack of level, right? Because of my references and my goals and how good I want to be and stuff like that. And I was like, it was easier for me to not do it, to not paint, to not even try to get better, than to actually sit down and sit through this whole struggle of trying to improve my skills, right?
Wait. You were disappointed by your own skill level? Or reference levels? Always see. Okay.
No, dude. By my own level, I mean, like, I saw myself as not good enough, right? Like, dude, I have some good ideas that I think are good, that I think they fulfill me a lot, and they're like, oh man, this is the best thing I've ever came up with. Yet I lack the skill to kind of execute them. See what I'm saying? So it made me feel kind of like, all right, maybe I need a break, maybe this and that, you know, and I spend time watching a TV show, playing some video games. I don't know. Distracted.
But were you doing those? Yeah, were you distracting yourself in order to like try to escape from the feeling of not feeling good enough, or?
Probably, most likely, yeah.
I see.
And then it all goes down to, actually, it's you feel so stupid when you realize, you know, this time you kind of give it a try and you come up with something that makes you feel good and makes you feel like stupid for not having trusted yourself before. Like, dude, of course I could do it. Like, look at this. I'm actually proud of this piece, you know? And you feel like, oh man, it was all a matter of sitting through this whole struggle and overcoming it. So that's why I wanted to say this, because I'm not sure if that was overburn, right? Like a burnout from me. It was more like a time of reflection, I guess. So I don't know if you guys have had this a lot of times, but it usually never happens to me, and it happened this year more than ever. And I think it's the longest time I've spent like in this kind of low vibe type of state, right? Where you just feel like not doing much. Like, I don't know how to describe it even. I don't know. It's not like you're depressed, because you're still... I had a lot of... I was excited to go out and go to the mountain and, travel and watch this show and play this game and stuff and see my friends and everything. I was down to everything but to keep pushing my own skills, right? So...
Yeah. I think that still might correlate with burnout in some way. You just... Again, I said you just lose that desire to do art for a bit. And you just... Like, nothing will come out, you know? So you need that pause or that break away from the art to reclaim your mind or your sense of self.
I think that's it.
So,
it's the fear of taking a break.
Yeah. I would say, like, that lumps into it.
Maybe that's it.
My last years have been...
Go ahead.
My last years have been full of videos of motivation and stuff like that, you know, and books about self-improvement and stuff. So it's always breathing this kind of, how should I call this, like hustle type of mentality, like always working hard, never stopping, you know. And maybe for some reason I started to feel bad for taking like a little break. And when that becomes your reality, right, you get the other side of it, which is the consequences of that, right? Which is when you kind of face the truth, the ugly truth of your psychology, your physiology, that you can't go further without taking a break, right? This is valid for almost everything. Sports, right? Any kind of mental performance, you have to have like a break. Hence how we sleep every day, right? And then if you don't sleep, you kind of start to go like delirious and stuff. So
yeah, it's becoming
sorry for
a
interrupting
problem.
you, Andre. I had to say it.
No, it's okay, man. I'll not talk again for the rest of the episode.
Okay.
It's fine.
That's for the thing you did earlier.
I was gonna add on to that, like, this sort of hustle mentality to keep working, especially in the art world where, you know, a lot of kids are trying to get jobs. They feel like they have to have this hustle mentality 24/7, otherwise they won't get that job. In reality, it's like you should be taking breaks, you should be sleeping more, you should be connecting with friends, family. You know, I used to think that way too, like just work, never take a break. But then I realized you lose touch of reality a little bit And like sometimes, yeah, this will sort of tie into the quote, but like you lose people along the way when you're just in this like work hard grind mode all the time. But you just need to step outside and like look at the flowers from time to
Yeah, I
time.
guess we just don't realize how much time we have, really. That we
Yeah,
get
we lose.
carried away by this this kind of ideology of what's it called, long term versus like short term kind of thing,
Mhm.
like I want it fast, I want to get better overnight, and
Yeah.
you kind of try to do it, you see it doesn't work, and you try again and again, and
Mhm.
yeah, it leads you to this kind of ugly truth realization, like it takes time.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
not
it's
something
just
that
an
happens
American
overnight.
thing. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
know,
all
man.
over the world.
Yeah, I think with like social media, that kind of feeling of having to work 24/7, it's
Hmm.
affecting everybody, especially in our industry, right?
Yeah.
I do think that there's some. I don't want to say something toxic about it, but I don't think that's healthy to treat something that you want to do as a career as something that you have to do every time of every single day, every hour.
Yeah.
You just like
Like
sleep and work, and that's it. You don't even eat that much.
like
And also,
nowadays. Oh, go ahead.
okay, go ahead, man.
No, I was. You go ahead.
It's a. I don't know about you guys, but like the most productive that I ever was when I had everything in balance. So it's like now with COVID and everything, it's kind of hard to keep it in check. But when I was exercising and sleeping decently well, that's when like my art time was most productive ever. You know, I was able to produce more in less time because I was rested. I had a clear mind. My body was feeling well. So um, people, I think they don't understand that like productivity has to do a lot more with your mentality when you are working than the amount of time that you spend on your desk sitting down and staring at the screen. So
Mhm.
like I guess it's a matter of focus instead of trying to like force yourself to do something up to the point where you have that feeling of burnout. What you should actually do is realize that I think it's just a change in the mindset, right? Because if your objective is to be as productive as you can be, and you realize that spending more time on your desk will not cause that effect, but what will cause that, it's having balance in your life in terms of your health and your like the amount of input, creative input that you have and creative output that you have. Like
Hmm.
maybe if people start to think like that, they will not experience this kind of thing. And I guess that's why I don't relate too much with that kind of experience because I
Yeah.
never forced myself to be like I mean, I worked sometimes 12-hour days or something like that, right? But the mentality was not like I have to work because I have to. It was always like I'm working because I am feeling that passion and I'm feeling like I want to do this. And I was always enjoying it. That's why art was my um, therapy, sort of, instead of being that thing that pressured, you know?
Yeah.
It's about the meaning you give to the things you do, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's that.
Yeah. I feel that um, you should never take art too seriously, especially as your career, uh, because the moment you take it too seriously is when you can experience things like burnout. You you treat it like work rather than your passion, you know. And for me, like these days, I don't even draw or paint every single day. Like I might do a painting once every 3 or 4 days. And
You
that
don't
time
deserve to be
period,
here, man.
See,
Get it, get out.
that's a kind of like a tricky way to see it, right? Because it's like both things. It's your passion and it's also work, right? It's a business after all. But I agree with you. Like, I fail to see how kind of forcing myself to say follow these daily exercises, you know, to kind of keep myself warmed up all the time and be ready and, you know, sharpen my skills and stuff. Like, you know, many artists seem to have like a habit, like this routine of morning sketch or something like that, you know. Sometimes, some days, I just don't do it. Like, I tried this, but more like a challenge, just to see if I can follow up with this kind of schedule, you know. But I never really made it into my personal habit, my personal, say, schedule, right? Which becomes like a habit. Like, first thing I do, I heard Bobby Chu once said something like, first thing I do in the morning, like, I pull a sketchbook from below my bed or below the pillow. I don't know what he said, and he just makes like a sketch, right? Before brushing his teeth, before washing his face, anything. Just that's like the first thing he does. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. I'm gonna do that too, right? Because I like art, so I like this thing, so I should do it. And it doesn't work for everybody. That's the thing, that you see other people doing stuff that you feel motivated for, and when it comes down to you doing those things, it just doesn't work, right? Because you haven't asked yourself about it. You're constantly searching outside. That's the thing. You're constantly asking questions on an exterior level, you know, instead of kind of digging deep down to yourself and kind of asking yourself, do I want to do this? How can I get better? Stuff like that. Ask the questions and listen to yourself, because I truly believe that that's the only way to figure out like how you can be happy with yourself.
like, does it feel natural to you, sort of thing?
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
if it's not natural, then you're just forcing the process to happen.
And I
not
really
letting it flow
encourage
naturally.
challenges. For instance, I really encourage that to keep going, because it's a way for you to see what works and what does not work. You can't also, I mean, you can't base your judgment on, I did this for a week, right? I don't think that's enough time for you to experience like if it works or not. I think you should give it like a longer time, right? And yeah. So
Yeah, what I'm thinking, it's like, because if you want to work with this, it is something that you will have to deal with. The fact that you will have to do art on a schedule. So, like, I don't know how useful it is to tell people to just take it that easy, right? My advice would be more towards the idea that you don't need to get your sense of fulfillment out of your job, because at the end of the day, being like working as an artist, you will be hired to do something that's not like what you. It's not that you don't really want to do it. Maybe it combines some things that you like to do, and a cool project or a cool client or something like that. But it will not be exactly what you would be doing in your free time, right? So, like, coping with the fact that yes, it will not be exactly what you want to do, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that it needs to be like you don't need to enjoy it, or that you cannot enjoy that. So maybe it's more useful to teach people how to enjoy when they have to do it, so that like the personal work becomes something that is refreshing instead of the only thing that gives them the sense of fulfillment. Because that's my worry, you know, like that by the fact of avoiding the work that's not as creatively intensive or as free for you, like to do whatever it is that you want, you will not be able to have this as a career and be happy at the same time.
guys, what do you think about when you draw, when you paint? Like, do you think about do you really feel that moment? Like, oh, I'm enjoying this painting, you know, painting this makes me feel good. Or are you kind of thinking of stuff from the past, imagining things in the future, kind of being worried about things, stressing yourself? Or are you rather, I don't know, maybe diving into the painting, the world you're creating, or the prop you're creating, kind of imagining stuff about that? Or because I think it has to do, this kind of sensation has to do with the like, where are you in that moment, right? Are you in the present? Like, are you aware of this moment right now? Or are you rather like just being worried about something that you still have to do in the future, but it's not here yet, so it won't happen anytime soon, yet you still choose to think about that? Or are you kind of remembering something bad that happened in the past, trying to imagine it like from a different perspective? I wish I would have said this, I wish I would have done that. Or what is it? Like, because in my case, I think it's the only moment when I'm feeling like, I realize this with physical exercise as well, is the only time I can't really think about anything. I'm just focused on the activity itself.
Yeah. I mean, I used to feel like that, where my mind kind of trails off about, thinking about my career and my future and stuff. This was before the book, but now I'm just all into my paintings. Like, each painting that I'm doing at this point is like, I'm invested in each one and just like sort of savoring each piece, really putting my soul into each piece. And I think people can see it now. It's like I'm really trying to take time and, inspire people through my work, and I can feel myself getting inspired through my work too. So that's why I always talk about the mantra of do the work, not only for yourself, well, for your audience, but also for yourself. So it fulfills both parties, not just like one or the other, because that's when your true fulfillment, I think, comes in, when you can grow yourself and grow your audience, and then, you just
Also wanted to ask you guys if you listen to any music while you're painting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Like even some like different kinds of music depending on how I'm feeling at the moment. But as an example, like if I'm feeling a little
Like
down
music with
and I
lyrics
don't,
and stuff?
yeah, like if I'm feeling sort of down and I don't like, I want to get it like going on, like I have this playlist on Spotify that's called Pump It Up. That it sort of like has the kind of music that makes me wanna, like, I don't know, man, race or go to a workout or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like there is some more calm and chilling music, and there is a website that makes like sound of rain, so I leave it in the background as well. So like some sort of trick in order to get your mind to where you want it to be. But at the same time, like the work itself, I tend to be very rational thinking. So when you said like, oh, how do you feel or what do you think about when you're doing something? And usually I'm very design oriented, so I'm like thinking about the shapes and thinking about like functionality. Because like if people don't know my work, I'm very much a prop designer and a like a vehicle designer.
Yeah.
So I tend to have that like
I'll show some of your work.
hard surface. No, don't do that, man. They'll lose all the respect for me. No, like it's a very hard surface kind of mentality.
I mean, they can find
that you
it
see all
down
around.
below in the description anyway.
He's done 2 demos already.
Yeah, like the first 2 videos were me painting, and then like now I'm ashamed of my work, right? Because these guys, if you are listening to this, like they just told me straight face, like stop doing these. Nobody's liking to see them. So.
Damn. Wait, who said that? Your coworkers? Oh, wait.
Oh yeah, now you're pretending that you don't know, right? Yeah, that's how it goes.
Nah, dude.
No, everybody, I'm just joking, okay? I don't know, and maybe someone would believe that.
You can edit that out.
No, it's fine, dude. Don't worry.
All right. What
They
were you
like this
saying?
stuff.
Oh yeah, music, right?
Yeah, about being in the
Yeah.
moment. Like in the case of Andre, like he's like thinking about the shapes and stuff. Because this is something that I also thought about. Like maybe it relates to certain stages of the design process, right? Usually in the beginning, like when you're trying to make everything fit in and come together, you're kind of worried about different shapes, values, and all that stuff. And you don't have really much time to pay attention to anything else, any thoughts, any, music even. Like, dude, sometimes I had stuff playing in the background I didn't even realize, like they really finished that fast that I didn't even realize. I spent like half an hour trying to make this work, and oh my god, like even sometimes I have like films, right? But I find it too distracting. I think they're okay when you reach the detail type of phase, where you don't really need to kind of focus on anything. You can listen to a podcast, or you can listen to any music you want. You can even have a film playing in the background. And yeah, maybe it has to do with these different stages, right?
Yeah.
I guess so, but one thing that caught me, like, about what you said is that, like, oh, you spend like half an hour trying to make this work. And usually to me, like if I'm designing something, it takes maybe days in order for me, like in that stage of figuring things out, Like it can take weeks
Yeah.
to figure some
Yeah, I
part of
mean,
a design out.
that half an hour is like easily stretchable to any kind of
Because
situation.
yeah, like I don't know, that's something that caught me because I started thinking how long do you take usually on your pieces?
Mm-hmm. Say
Because
if it's only
one
one
thing,
thing.
yeah, because here's the thing, okay?
Yeah.
If you're approaching something with the mentality that you have to finish like in one sitting or maybe like in 2 or 3 days, maybe that has a lot more pressure. But then
Mm-hmm.
if you're approaching a design with the idea that, hey, this is a work in progress, I have as much time as I want to perfect this design. And it's not that it carries less pressure because like the longer you take, the more you will get attached to a piece. But you
Yeah.
understand that it's just part of a process. So maybe that one session will not have as much importance as it would have if it was the only one that you had to make something, to create it and to finish the piece, right?
Mm-hmm. I
Because
realized. Yeah, I
okay, go
realized
ahead.
when I'm getting to the kind of the post-processing stage, right, of the piece, if you really give it that much time, you start to see little things everywhere, and you kind of get lost into the process of, correcting these little mistakes here and here. Well, mistakes. It's probably something no one even it's gonna even notice, right? But to you, it's like, yeah, that little fly on the screen, that sometimes no one can see, but only you. And yeah, I think you have to be really aware of the way you spend your time while you work, because I think having like blocks of time devoted to each stage helps a lot. But I don't want that to feel like restraining, or to feel like, how should I say this, like encapsulating you into a rigid type of process. You should actually flow with whatever you feel like, right? Say if you want to correct this now, do it now. If you want to work on this guy now, work on this guy now. Leave the background for later, or whatever. It's up to you. But yeah, Andre, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm thinking. Like,
Yeah,
Agree with that.
like this has
I'm
to
not
do
sure
with
because
what you mentioned about like you have to go back and forth all the time, kind of spending a lot of time in that initial thinking process, until you get the design, and then you spend like, I mean, I remember your videos from the first episodes we made, and seems like a pretty chill mood, you know, to kind of polish the car. Once you have the shapes right, once you have like everything settled down, it's a matter of, you know, just polishing everything. I guess that's how I feel while watching your video, right? I feel like you're kind of relaxing, kind of trying to see, hey, this lighting, or maybe this color, you know, stuff like that. But that, once the design is done, that's when you go to, you know, into variations and stuff.
Yeah, because okay, so on those videos, just to explain people that like haven't watched it, just listen to it. Like on the first one, I had the basic design figured out, so I was working on the details. And on the second one, I was very much figuring out the design. And you can see the process, it's quite slow actually. But that's just because like you make a mark, let's say, on the painting, and then you stop and think about it, and you look for a fire, and then you like either undo it or cover it up or make another one, or maybe that makes you think about something else. So like for that part of the process where you are designing things, I find that leaving as much time to it as I can, it's more useful. And then like for the rendering stage, let's say, or like for the touch-ups and finishing up the piece, that's where I think it's less useful to have time. But what I found is that the pieces that I spent the most amount of time in, like thinking about everything and really bringing it home, it's where I kind of get the most out of them, if that makes sense. Like they have the most amount of impact, and
The ones you put most
like,
work into, right?
yes, and not only on the rendering side,
time
you know, like
as well.
on the design thinking side.
Yeah.
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 It's like it's really worthwhile to stop and think about them, because it has more impact on your overall like portfolio, and it will live longer on your portfolio as well. It's something that you will be proud for the most amount of time, instead of something that you try to design very quickly, just because like that's why I'm not sure about blocking out time zones, you know. If it's a client project, yeah, right, you have a deadline and you are supposed to deliver on that deadline, so be very strict about that. But maybe that's why like I treat personal projects as something refreshing, and work is the stressful part, because on my personal projects I don't have a deadline, I don't have a intended process that I need to have, I don't have delivery dates. It's basically like I will work on that piece up to the point where I either find it like good enough, or I find it that I don't want to look at it anymore because I got tired of the design. And usually at that
that's
point,
something I wanted to mention, that when you spend too long on something, like your eyes become used to it somehow. It's almost like, you know, when it suddenly turns to dark, everything, like no light at all, like your eyes get used to the darkness, and then you start seeing little things, right? You start seeing things, actually, because once they get used to it. So I think that a similar effect happens also in art, where when you spend like too long, I notice this in my own art sometimes, when I spend too long with one piece, and let's say it's already like I've been working on this for the entire day, and then it's nighttime, I go to bed, and I come back the next morning, I look at the piece, and oh man, it's like, why is this so green? Like, it wasn't this green last night, you know? So it kind of like color balance things, and also design related aspects that can totally be as well, right? So I think that's, if you're not under the pressure of a deadline, if you're say if you're working on something for yourself or something like that, I think it's okay to give it like a break, you know, and kind of have this little in between sessions. And it helps you, you know, it's always better to come back with a fresh eye, you know, fresh everything. And you look at it and you kind of see stuff that you didn't see before or you weren't able to see before. It's the magic of taking a break, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has to do a lot with the burnout thing, I guess. I think we all have to learn when not to stop, but to take a little break, you know?
Mhm.
Healthy
maybe
breaks.
like that's like if you that's one thing that's useful of not having a deadline and thinking about the long term, because if this is something that I'll take like a month doing, it's
Exactly.
not worthwhile for me to like lose one night, because I'll have 30 nights up to the point where I'm done with the piece.
Yeah.
So like one of them, yeah, it's better if I keep it preserved and I go to bed early and get like well rested for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've heard
yeah, man,
paintings are abandoned pieces, really. It's not like it's finished. It's like abandoned because you could work on it forever. You know,
yeah, man,
constantly
I think
trying
so.
to, right?
I feel a lot of times like us as artists, we see things as like short-term things. We want to get it out and done as fast as we can, but we're not, slowly taking the time to put ourselves into it. That's
Mhm.
why I see like the IP creation stuff as like long-term things. There's no rush, there's no deadline. Like we take however much time we need to finish it, so we don't lose or we don't feel pressured to finish it within like a couple months or like
Hmm.
a
Do you
shorter
think,
time.
Dom? Do you think that even though there's no like long-term, like a long-term schedule or a long-term deadline, there should be like little deadlines in between, like short-term type of
Yeah,
deadlines?
I think so too. Um, because with Journey to the East, like I didn't want it to span my entire life. Because I didn't want to be in that environment or that setting, like the desert, for the rest of my life. So I wanted like a change of pace. I'd be just like aimlessly wandering around in Dune forever. But I felt like there had to be some sort of deadline, not just for myself, but for the people like also interested in the project. Because
Mhm.
I don't want to drag my audience with me through this whole thing. Even though like I love this world, I felt like at some point I wanted this story to like wrap up. I wanted to like bring everything together and then like push the product out to share with people and for people to have like my story in
Mhm.
their library too. So I think having mini deadlines is good. But a project can take like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It doesn't really matter however long you need. But I think it's also good to just be aware of like, you know, it's time to like bring the story together too, and like bring the IP
Yeah,
together. So
I
it
think
becomes
that's the
something.
most difficult thing to do,
Yeah,
to know when to
it's
finish, when to
definitely
wrap it up. When do you call it done?
yeah.
I think it's up to each and every single one of us to have like our own system for that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, whenever I feel it, or whenever I see
Yeah.
this happens, it means it's done. Or I don't know. I think it works different. It
Because
works differently for each. And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because
Maybe
it's
that's
also
why
good.
I'm not working on an IP, right? Because I don't know how to stop myself.
Wow.
Just all spaceships, like
Damn.
1,000 pages of spaceships.
Andre the Unstoppable.
That's not
I
what I meant. But
Yeah, for me personally, I like seeing an end goal. Um, I don't, I don't know. This is just like what I experience. Like I like to see things end and then start a new beginning. Uh, Same thing like playing video games that have no end. Like I just can't do that. Like I need an ending for my story. It's the same thing with like my projects. Like
Damn
I
right.
do want to see it come to light eventually. Like I want to see a happy ending or a terrible ending. I don't know. Like something should happen
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
where I see it. Yeah. For some people, they don't like endings. That's okay.
Yeah, there was something
yeah,
I
I'm
wanted
one
to.
of those people.
Yeah.
I don't like if it's video games, yes. Like I don't really like open-ended stories or movies or stuff like that. But maybe with my art, maybe that's the reason why I like sketching so much. Is because if it's not like a final piece, I don't need to call it done. So it's an open-ended piece. That's why I love sketching, maybe.
Hmm.
But um,
And
yeah,
each
the way that
sketch
I
can be
treat every
unique and different. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. You're completely destroying my mentality. But
why though?
no, man. Maybe like if I think
Trying to say
about
it's like a liberating experience, to have like each drawing being like having the possibility of being a new thing instead of always focusing on the same thing, like
it's
according
not
to the
necessarily
games you
like
mentioned earlier. Like it's always the same
yeah, but
game.
it's not necessarily like being a new thing. It's just being part of what's already there, So instead of like creating, let's say, because I'm sketching spaceships at this exact moment, right? So perhaps each one of them, it's part of this whole universe instead of me trying to like finish each and every one of them and making them like their own designs, right?
Yeah.
And like the designs that I finish and that I spend a lot of time in, yeah, then like I have to call them done. But if I think of them as just part of a world, I will never have to call them finished. So
I see.
maybe it's the idea of like it's never really finished that is
Yeah.
comforting, because you don't have to say, hey, this is the peak of my ability.
Yeah, that's kind of the same way I feel about my project as well, about Evan Urian, because I don't see an end to it. But that doesn't mean that I don't see like deadlines and stuff, because in between there's like chapters to be made, isolated stories to be finished, and yeah, I don't know where this is gonna take me. Like I don't know what's gonna be like the end product, but I don't think of limiting it to one specific thing only, right? Like say I make a book, right? Then who says I can't make like another book continuing the story, or even like an animated series or a series of images, right? Released like in a succession of different, like a comic type of format or something. I don't know. But I don't see like, if you enjoy it, like why putting an end to it, right? If one day I'll start feeling like Dom, for instance, with his project, with Journey to the East, like of course, then next thing, right? It's like the next page. You have to wrap something up to allow something else to come into the book. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's well, for my case, it's like I finish the book so I can start a new project, but also maybe revisit that project again in the future. So it's kind of like a break in between.
Absolutely. I agree.
Just like for my mind to process, not having to paint the same sort of setting or genre over and over. So take a break from that, start a new genre, finish this current genre, and then go back to the other genre and then it'd be cool because it'd be like if I just like pop the characters back up one day, they're like, oh, they're coming back,
right?
Like, they're making a return.
Yeah, that reminds me of like when you work on several thumbnails at the same time, and you end up committing to one of them at least, and you spend like a lot of time because it fulfills you. Like, this one is awesome, dude. I like this one. And then you get to a point of, oh man, I'm sick of this one. Like, whoa, wait a second. I still have like so many others to work on. And I think it's a nice feeling to always have something. Dude, the world is endless, in my opinion. Like, there's tons of inspiration out there. It's impossible to get bored. And there's one thing I wanted to say earlier about what we were talking about, this being a professional. This is, art is a job, art is business. I've heard this kind of famous quote about, you only turn professional when you can keep doing what you love doing, even though when you don't feel like doing it, when you don't want to do it, right? So you love art, but when there's a day you feel like, dude, I'm not painting today. I don't feel like painting today, right? But you still have to do it because it's your job. It's like someone else is waiting for you to deliver that work. That's when you turn professional. Well, according to that quote, right? So I want to know what you guys think about it. I think it's pretty interesting, pretty... I see both sides of it, you know? Like, you should be able to kind of behave that way, like be a professional and deliver on time and stuff like that, but you should also listen to yourself sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm making sense out of this.
Are you moving on to the quote now? Or should probably move on to that topic, I guess.
Yeah,
So.
that's maybe we could. I'm thinking of a way to merge
if
them
you want
together.
to know my
but
opinion,
anyway. Yeah,
I agree with the topic. Yeah, of course that like I only thought about it for 2 minutes, so maybe I could use more time.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with the topic. I think that's like that's what being a professional really means, in my opinion. You know, like the fact that you are doing this not for yourself but for other people, and like that you are fine afterwards. You know, like perhaps you're not enjoying the process as much, and there's a lot of limiting factors, right? Because you have a deadline and it's not your project, so you are not the one making the calls, you're not the one deciding on stuff, but at the same time you are, because I heard this on a recent podcast that I listened to from, what's his name, is the guy that does the podcast with Jan Urschel. It's
Emmanuel
Shu.
Emmanuel Shu. Yeah, he was talking about like the idea that from the start he knew that working on this job he would be like just a hand in the service of the, let's say, the director or the art director, right?
Yeah.
And I approach it pretty much in the same way. So like I don't put myself personally into every work that I do for our clients. It's just me executing.
Exactly.
And so it's like I don't want to speak as if I did not put effort, you know, because that's a different thing. Like you are putting effort, you're just not pouring like your complete soul inside of the project.
But it's
like,
definitely like
all
a
your
different
hopes
feeling.
and dreams inside of it, inside of your project, right?
Yeah,
because it's not yours. Yeah. So it's like it has less pressure, but at the same time it allows you to work without thinking about every little detail or attaching yourself too much to the project, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of pieces are rejected, and a lot of pieces like are not good enough, and they're not the final design. And so if I attach myself to every single piece that I produce for a client, man, I would be like living in hell, you know?
Yeah.
Plus it's Star Wars.
Absolutely. I'd like to point out the fact that there's always going to be some bumps in the road, right? Because if the road is always smooth and nice, I don't think you will learn anything. And the fact that everything's meant to be cool and nice and positive and optimistic, I don't think it's necessarily like helpful in a way. Because let's say, think about this famous quote of like, you learn a lot from failure, from defeat, you know, not from victory. Well, has a point, right? Because I really think you learn a lot when something doesn't go as you expected. When everything goes right, everything goes as you expected, you're even not valuing it as much as you should, I guess. You're kind of taking it for granted and stuff like that. So I see both sides of this mentality, I guess, you know? The way of the idea of going like, I think art should be an a nice thing, you know, distressing kind of thing, like a relaxing kind of experience, like you should follow your dreams and all that. But I think there are also moments where you have to, like you said, Andrea, like you have to work for a client. You can't put your soul in it, because then again, if something goes wrong, it's worse for you, right? So yeah, I just wanted to point that out before moving on to the other topic of, like, I don't know if you guys want to add something else to this.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of friction, I feel, in order to grow as an
Exactly.
individual, as an artist. Because if there's no sort of those bumps along the road, then if everything's easily handed to you, then what's the point of
I tend to look at it as some sort of a
challenges
cycle,
yeah,
you know?
something like that.
Also, like you said, when things don't go according to your plan, like you learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having a hard time finding out when did things go exactly according to the plan. Because that's not something.
Well,
like, I think that
I mean,
not
at
going
some
according to the
point,
plan is the norm, you know.
dude, but
It's
that's
not like
okay.
things-
It
That's
forces you
okay.
to adapt, I feel.
Yeah,
What?
like it's not something that's bad, you know. Like if you plan accordingly and you think like, okay, this is the like plan A, but the possibility that things will go this way is like minuscule, then
Well,
you
yeah.
have an easier time with dealing with the fact that not everything will go the way that you want.
I think it's cool to have a plan, but I think it's even better to be prepared, you know, because plans can sometimes not work. And
Yeah.
if you're prepared instead, you're kind of ready to deal with whatever comes your way, right? So,
Yeah.
well, that's
What's
the
that
way.
one quote? It's like, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
So,
Oh, I see. So we're heading into positive vibes again.
always. Always
dude, yeah, but being positive doesn't mean like you don't acknowledge the bad stuff,
Yeah.
right? It does, because people
mean
tend to
you
look at it
don't
that
have to.
way. Yeah, you know, there's some people going mad at you because you're so positive and you're so, how can you be so delusional? You know, the world is not like that all the time. And you're like, yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
why would I choose to feel
it's-
bad all the time? You know, or feel negative
I think
all
it's
the time.
important to, it's important to acknowledge things that are negative.
Hmm.
You know, we see things that are happening that are going wrong, but we shouldn't dwell too much on things, especially if it's something we can't control. You know,
That's it. You nailed
we
it.
can only control our own selves in our moments, because
And how
if
you
we're
react
too
to those
focused on
things.
someone else's life or something, which it sucks, you know, we can't really do anything about it, but you know, we have our own problems that we have to get through too. We can't.
The only thing you can control
Yeah.
is the way you deal with things, I guess. Not the things themselves.
Yeah.
No, you can't control. You
Right.
can't stop them from happening. You can't make them happen even. So everything external to your bubble of influence, I guess,
Yeah.
that's something you should accept as something that you don't have power upon. And yeah. So guys, do you like, have you ever had this kind of moment of, well, not moment, but more like an experience where someone doesn't kind of support you or encourage you to do what you feel like doing in your life? Or like, say in this case we're artists, so let's go with art, right? Like, have you had someone telling you, like, you know, art is not a job, art is not like a real career, like you should, I don't know, something like that.
Is this
like
going into the quote?
kind of, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely have felt that. Well, I have never had anyone flat out said to my face that, but I've definitely felt the energy from some people saying like, "Yeah, go for that," you know, like do what you want to do. It's like kind of a
Subtle.
lighthearted sort of, yeah. But in my mind, I'm just like, they don't really want me to do this.
Mhm.
They want me
Yeah.
to do something else. But yeah, and then it takes all your time and energy to finally prove that, like, yeah, this is a job to them, or like this is actually possible to make a career,
Mm-hmm.
because some people, they have to see the proof before they even believe
Dude,
that.
some people not even seeing the proof they believe. So.
Yeah, not even with the
So,
evidence, right? They just
Yeah.
try to ignore it
they
and
just
stick to
try
their old beliefs or whatever.
yeah.
And I kind
I
of
understand it
understand.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. I understand it because they probably come from a different time, right? Where the whole industry was different. There were different types of jobs. Now it's like new jobs that they fail to understand the way they work and why do you make money out of this, right? Like who would want to pay
Or
for
even
something
how,
like
like,
this?
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you, Andrea?
Well, as I said, some people even with proof they don't believe. So to me, it's more a matter of how you deal with them instead of if they believe in you or not.
Hmm.
Like trying to prove
Uh,
them wrong, like instead of that.
um, like even trying to prove people wrong would be not the ideal way, in my opinion,
No,
because
that's a
then you are
dangerous
basing
thing,
your
I think.
attitude in like in what other people think, even if it's to prove them wrong, right?
Hmm.
I think that if you believe in yourself enough, and if you're like know that you are doing the right things, and it's I don't want to say like you achieved your goals, but you are like going towards them, and it's something that's clear to you, and you are getting results, even if like it's smaller than what you wanted. Um, maybe that's like enough for you to not care about other people's opinion, you know. Like, and
Right.
they will adopt you like to the point where even if you um have big clients or have like you have proof, you know, like you show your bank account, hey, listen, I'm getting money out of this, and
Yeah.
and they will not respect you. So like I learned how to let go of needing people's respect, even if it hurts, you know, even if people that you wanted that respected you, like
Mm-hmm.
it's. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a hard realization, and it's not something that I totally over. But to realize that maybe people whom you admired, like if they're not doing like well, if they don't, how can I say this? If it's not good for you in the long term, it's better to let go of the sensation that you needed their approval.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And if you think that this is something that only artists go through, it's not. So, like, I know a lot of people that face that same feeling, and maybe it's our generation, or maybe it's like the way that previous generations imposed some sort of expectation on us. But the idea is that, I don't know, I see this a lot, like people not thinking that they're good enough no matter what they do. And
Yeah.
this combined with the hustle mentality that we were talking before,
Oh,
and everything. Like
it's a
there's a lot
time
of
bomb.
pressure. Yeah. So it's like you either learn how to not need all of that or it will explode in your face, you
External
know?
validation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes
Yeah.
beyond like this the technical skill.
Yeah. I'm trying to not go into too long of a rant about that, you know, but
Yeah, no, it's okay,
it's a
man. Yeah, I agree.
What do
Yeah.
you guys think about the, well, breaking down the quote for the first part? Your friends
Well,
either go through this.
first of all, I think well, from my perspective, I'm always trying to be as empathic or empathetic. I'm not sure how to say that word, but empathy,
Pathetic.
right? I'm always trying to understand like both sides. So this way, you don't choose to just hate that guy for not kind of being on the same line as you, right? Like for not being aligned with the way you think, because they might have a different reason, and I'm trying to understand that. And I find this quote quite divisive, like you're either with me or without me, right? So I don't know. It's like, again, the quote says, your friends either go through this inner transformation with you or drift out of your life. Some relationships dissolve, others deepen. I kind of see this as a natural course in life where, say, two people kind of find their own path, right? And they've been together at some point, but then they kind of go separate ways because that's what they've chosen, right?
Yeah.
If you want to go to, certain place, you go there. And if the one that was with you doesn't want to go there, he will not come, and that's it. But I don't think that you should push him out or anything like that. I don't know. I might be getting into some muddy terrain here, but
I think like something that you are not considering is the idea that the quote says drift away, and not like it's taken out by force of your life,
right, right.
Because
Drift out of your
it's that
life.
idea. I'm not sure if that happened with you, but you see that that pattern a lot in movies and stuff like that. And the idea of someone that, let's say, goes to college or like gets out of college and starts his life, and then he slowly drifts away from their friends. And usually it's because there is some sort of shifting mentality where someone takes like longer to mature, or someone matures a lot quickly, or they change their interest, and like you start to know people that have more alignment with your new mentality. And I think that's more like where the quote goes, because
I think that's the law of attraction, right?
Yeah,
like you naturally feel attracted to people that think the same way you think.
Yeah, like there's a reason why the three of us decided to do this podcast, and that doesn't mean like each of us hate our old friends or friends that don't do art.
No, absolutely not.
But there's also a reason why they're not on the podcast. It's like you start to align yourself with people that have a similar mentality. So
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a natural process, and if even if it wasn't, oh my god, I'm like mumbling a lot. Even if it wasn't art,
no, it's fine, dude. I don't think you push anyone out. I think you, as you said, you naturally follow like your course, which also happens to be the same course as some other people, and you find like this new type of I don't know, collective group mentality that's similar to yours, without you having to push away anyone. They are not being pushed away. They're just simply following like their own paths. I guess that's the way I see it, at least.
Yeah. Or they're just watching you from the sidelines. That's also
waiting for the moment to strike you down.
It's never meant to like, isolate anyone else. It's just it's like that one quote I posted about, being with like higher vibrational people. Like it's not meant to ignore the old people, but it's meant to like, for your own mental clarity or your own mental health, I guess, you need to be around people who
empower you, basically. Yeah.
You don't
bring value to you somehow.
You with people who are like just down in the dumps all the time, and that it can take a toll on you. It's like so you might have to not cut them out of your life, but just move on naturally with life and be with people who try to like push you further. And because if you don't feel like you're moving forward in life and you're just like stuck in negativity all the time, it's like, there's got to be a point where you have to make decisions.
I mean, you will realize that it doesn't help you like at all.
Yeah.
And you'll get to a point of extreme where you'll just say enough is enough, and that's it, and you'll walk away.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Because you're supposed to grow with the people who you hang out with, and if you don't feel like you're growing, then it's like you're not living your life, essentially. It doesn't mean you have to like move somewhere else or move to a new place.
I guess it's a natural process, like it will happen whether you like it or not. So it's better for you to understand it. So when it happens, you you realize that, hey, instead of like looking back and having some sort of regret or like feeling bitter that the person did not follow you through the journey, you think of them like dearly, you know.
Mhm.
It's a like it's a good memory instead of being like some sort of, I don't know,
Bad
regret that you have.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all relationships, all friendships are experiences. There's never one that's like, like I didn't learn anything from that. Like you're always learning something out of someone you're with, I feel.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of this classical kind of situation where some of your family relatives are in some sort of disapproval with what you do, right? So it's not like they're trying
Yeah.
to talk you out of it, but they're like, as you said, like giving you like slight indications that they're not happy with that and they don't think you're gonna succeed, and then that's something bad for you, and they encourage you to not do it, right? Like, because they don't understand what it is, they're kind of scared of it, right? Which is the risk factor that you kind of go with. Maybe you don't know about it either. You don't know what you're getting into either, but you feel so driven by it. You feel so fulfilled. Like, I don't care about the cost, right? I want to do this. And they become kind of worried about it, and they're like trying to talk you out of it. Like, look, that's not a real job. Like, you have to get a real job, a real career, study stuff. Look at this guy, look at that other guy. And they start to come up with examples, right? And I mean, that's when you feel like, I don't care about them, right? I just want to do what makes me happy. And maybe they don't know it, but when they're gonna see you actually succeeded in that and you're happy and everything's going right, they're probably gonna feel the same way for you as well. They're probably gonna feel like, okay, he was right, you know. But your entire journey is not dedicated to proving them wrong. That's a consequence, right? That's a result. I heard you guys saying it earlier about the proving them wrong, and I don't think that's the correct way to go.
Like it gets exhausting to prove someone wrong. You know, like you can't spend your whole life doing that because at that point you're seeking validation from someone to be like, okay, you were right.
And it's even worse
like,
like, when they don't
I don't
seem
like
to
get to that point. Yeah.
Yeah. When they don't seem to get like a reaction from it, you know, like you don't seem to get them to react the way you expected. Like, you were wrong. And they're like, I don't think I'm wrong. You know, I think
wrong
it's
about
still
what?
the same.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I never said that. You're like, oh, what?
Then you
All
spend
this
your
time?
whole life trying.
Yeah, exactly.
You try to prove something wrong. You spend your whole life like living thinking about other people.
Definitely
when
not
in reality,
the way to go.
they never think about you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that's at least, I don't know if you guys have had like anyone in your family or close friends saying this too, because I don't remember, I can't speak about it that way. Like, I've never had like a harsh intervention by anyone other than just maybe some slight indications, like Dom commented earlier. Like, yeah, okay, if you like it, go ahead, you know, whatever.
I've never.
But have you ever considered like learning this or spending your time doing this thing or learning this other thing? Like,
they're just like subtly trying to steer you away.
Yeah, you try to be as respectful as you can, right? But again, it's like that kind of urge to understand them as well. Like, why are they talking like this? What makes them say this, right? And as you dig deeper a little bit more, you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, they just don't know, right? Because most people don't really know what other industries are about, like what they work like, right? For instance, people in my family have no idea how this whole art industry works, right? They don't know. They don't understand how does your painting get to be used in a game, right? You're like, oh well, it's not in the game itself, but it's like sort of like helps the design thing, and they're like, what? So it's mostly coming from not understanding what it is, right? And probably because they also put themselves in the skin of under the skin of someone who is willing to pay for your art, other than, you know, being beautiful and so on, like serving like a further, how should I say this, like being a part of the whole construction chain, right? The whole work pipeline. They don't see it that way. They just see it as a separate piece of artwork, right? So they're like, yeah, okay, I'll probably buy it at some point, but I don't know what I would do with it other than hang it on my wall and say, Adrian did this, you know, and that's it. They don't see the other side, the whole spectrum of the whole industry. They just don't understand it. And I think we're probably scared of what we don't understand. And therefore you try to keep people safe, I guess. So that's where I think they come from, at least.
They just believe you're going to be a painter along the beach selling canvas.
It's usually from a good place, I think. You know, it's usually people that are like concerned about you and that they think that they're doing the best thing for you. You know?
I don't think they want to take you down or anything. They want to keep you down. They just
I don't think about it like with resentment or something like that. It's more like
safety.
It's more safety that they think about, but the way that I see it, it's more
based
like,
on their experience, right?
You know how you would deal with a child, you know, like you don't take their opinion seriously, but you are kind of finding it funny, their naivety, you know. And I'm not trying to be like to say that everybody that dubs your art should be treated that
so
way.
Disrespectful.
But
yeah, I get it, man. I know.
I felt like that when I was talking, you know, like because I'm thinking.
Oh wait.
Mid-sentence, but yeah, it's like that. It's like, oh, thank you so much for worrying about me. Like that. That's really deep and kind, and I accept that you are worried about me. But here, let me show you the way that I think.
Yeah.
So because if you just shove them away, right, and like fight with them, then they will never take you seriously. So if you want to prove that you are thinking about your steps and that this is a mature decision and that this, like, you have a plan, you know, this is not something that you like are doing on a whim.
Yeah.
You are, and you start to show like that's.
Well, it's sort of like an adventure,
you know?
right? But it's important to also have like a plan.
Yeah,
have a
exactly.
goal.
Like something that I did with my family, and I still do. It's every time that there is like a game going on or a movie or something like that, I go like, hey, see this character? Like someone had to design the clothes and some other guy, like they worked only on the hair, and like there are so many people involved in the process. Like there's this guy that just do armor plating, and there another guy that just do the texture of it, and there is another
it's
guy.
Like a team effort. Everyone does something different.
And like if you show them that like there's this value and there are a lot of people involved on it, and if they don't believe in it, just say like, hey, stay 10 minutes after a movie ends, so you can see like how many people worked on it. In order to, and of course then not all of them are concept artists, but people will start to understand where the value comes from, you know. And then like they, even if they don't know what everybody does, because it's very unlikely that they will know, they can see and think like, holy crap, if this many people worked on it, like some value it has to have, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not...
That's kind of the reaction. By the way, Dom, is Dom still here? Because I don't see his webcam and his microphone is muted. I'm not sure if he left or something. But
he was tired of our rants. But...
maybe. I don't blame him. But something that I thought about right now, you reminded me of, for instance, my dad, when I tried to explain, because he was curious about, like, hey, what are you working on now? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm just finishing this piece. And see, I'm telling him like the whole story. behind the piece, and he's like, but what is this for? I'm like, oh, this is for a game. And he's like, so trying to understand, like, how does this end up in the game? And I'm like, well, they're gonna make a book for the game, and I'm painting the illustrations, and yeah, I'll probably have to do like 100 more of these. And he's like mind blown, right? Like, that's a lot of work, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. And he's like, wow, that's a lot of work. He was just mind blown, like, by something that he probably can't even grasp, like how he would start to do something like that, right? Like, if he had to paint something like this, to him it looks like something impossible, right? Like something like, yeah, he doesn't even understand how you can do something like this, right? And then he goes like, but why would someone pay for this? Like, how is this helpful for anything, right? And I'm like, Dad, it's like this is part of a whole pipeline, right? And I'm explaining to him the whole thing you said earlier about, well, there's someone designing this, someone making it in 3D, someone animating it, someone writing this whole thing, and
why would you
so
go pay to
forth.
see a movie?
Yeah, and it's like, well, same for everything else, I guess. If there's like demand, you have to supply, right? So if people are interested in something, they pay for it. Same thing with anything, really, anything you can pay for, you pay for it because you value it, because you need it, and because you're willing to pay for it, right? Same thing with this. I'm like, and he was like, trying to understand this whole thing. So that's why this whole conversation came through my head right now when you were talking about that, because I find it pretty funny, because he doesn't really understand what I do, but he kind of supports it. Like, okay, I don't know how you pull this off, but if it works for you and makes you happy, then just go ahead, right? He never really tried to stop me from doing it or anything like that. He kind of asked me about like a degree or something, like, why didn't you study like this or that? Because it seems to be like a requirement nowadays, right? And then of course I spent like the next half hour trying to explain to him why having a degree is not strictly necessary to work in this industry. And that's, like, in my opinion, one of the core aspects of it, because some other jobs require you to spend like 4 to 5 years of your life studying something that's not really gonna help you much in the job you're gonna do later, right? And in this case, I mean, this is a whole topic for another episode, but yeah, I basically explained to him, like, this is why, this is how it works, So as you can see, I never really had anyone kind of trying to drag me down or stop me from doing this. They were just basically manifesting their insecurities based on what I'm doing, right? Like, if I was you, I would do this instead, right? Because from where I come, things happen in a different way. And I'm like, I know, but now we're here, right? This is what the world works nowadays. And I think it comes from a lack of connection, of acknowledgement of how things are nowadays, We are probably, like you said, our generation is like much more connected to what's going on in the world, like with the whole internet thing and social media, and we're basically online at all times, all the time. So we're much more aware of what's going on and what things, which direction things can go.
If you try to make like other people live by your standards, like, that will not work out. It's better to bring them to your world instead of judging them, because otherwise you would be doing the same thing, like they're judging you to not live in their world, and you are judging them to not live in yours.
Yeah,
so
and that doesn't work at all.
Where will that end?
Exactly, it's a spiral, right? It only gets worse.
Maybe some closing thoughts on this kind of thing. Like, Dom haven't said too much, and he's back. Like, he was just listening to it.
I was, taking a restroom break. But, what's it called? Like you said, bringing people into your world, I think, is a lot better than trying to force Is that the word? Force people. Or wait, I don't know.
Yeah, like
But,
be open-minded and be open
yeah.
to feedback and
Just
stuff.
letting people, naturally see the course of your journey, like going through these challenges or like these periods of artistic creativity. Like trying to show them in a way that it can be done, but not bashing them for it, saying that like you were wrong this whole time, but rather, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of sensation comes naturally, right? Like you think you will do that now, right? But when you get there, I don't think you will feel like going back and kind of shoving it into their faces like, hey dude, you were wrong, oh my god, you were so wrong, look at me now, right? I don't think you will feel that way at all when you get there.
Yeah. Or just letting the results show for itself.
Right.
Basically, when you do achieve it, like, oh, then they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Just,
Because they already
quiet.
know. Yeah. Exactly.
That's what happens to most people I've seen. Like when you achieve something big on a bigger scale, they don't say anything to you at all. Like they
They go silent.
They're just like, okay, I see.
Damn. It was not even his final form.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an interesting one, man.
As
Have a lot of
usual, I
fun on
feel
this
like
one.
we could continue talking about this for hours,
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I don't know. I just hope that people understand how to
How to balance.
how to balance everything, because I think that the whole theme of this episode was balance. In the beginning with the burnout thing, and
Knowing
now
when to do this, when to
balancing-
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, when to do each stuff, and then like at this end part, it's balancing. Like, yeah, I understand that you may feel angry about people not understanding you, but also balance that with the like trying to understand them as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like a two-sided coin,
Know yourself. That can only happen by experimenting, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I wanted to appreciate the support of our community, man, the few subscribers we have so far, but
46 subs.
dude, this is so cool. Yeah,
2 weeks.
Yeah. It makes me happy, man, to see people.
The good part about having a small community is that everybody's positive,
Yeah.
So it's like when things start to grow, like we'll experience some thumbs down, but in the meanwhile,
it makes me feel happy to see some comments there as well, like especially commenting on specific things we said, or I think that's, I don't know, it's a good feeling. It's very fulfilling. Yeah.
Yeah, so that I hope that everybody sees the smile on Adrian's face right now, so they comment more on the videos.
Maybe they'll get more encouraged when they will see like more comments, because it's like this initial feel of, oh, I'm the first one. Okay, I don't want to be the first one, man. I don't want to be.
In time, people
I need some more people to
be the first one.
Yeah. It's okay.
But thank you so much, guys. Thanks for everything. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and well, as always, thank you, Dom. Thank you, Andre, for your insights, and thanks for the talk overall. So
comment down below if you guys.
Andre, you did the intro. You want to do the outro too?
No.
I can do the outro.
All right, Dom.
Thank you, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. And stay tuned for the next one. Comment down below, leave your thoughts, your likes, share your experiences, and everything that you can. And yeah, thank you, everybody. See you next time.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.